Congratulations! You're the proud owner of an HQ Sweet 16 sit-down quilting machine. Let's get started on setting it up. We have our table here. I've got Gary here helping me today. You're welcome to do this by yourself, but it is great to have somebody with muscles to help do this. Let's set the table up, Gary. You need to just pull the legs out. Make sure they snap into place.
There you go.
Okay, now we'll stand the table up. These legs are adjustable, so you can put it at any height that you want to. Now we have our table set up. Let's slide our machine in. Gary, if you'll bring that over for me. The table has a perfect fit for the machine to slide in. Great. Now let's put the accessories on. We have an optional 18-inch table extension that's available. You need to put the brackets on, and you can use it either on the left side or the right side of your machine, or both if you want two extensions. We're going to start with our color touchscreen. Comes with two screws that fit in right here at the front. And we're using a 5mm Allen wrench to attach those screws. We need to attach the display connector right here on the side of the machine. Plug it in securely, and that's finished. We're going to install the thread mask next. It comes with a washer and a nut. You need to remove the nut, take the washer off, place it next to the machine, and then put the nut back on, turn the thread mask on. You want to make sure that it's on securely. And then you want to make sure that when you're finishing up with it, it's tightened and it's also at right angles with the machine. We're going to now install our foot pedal right here on the back of the machine. It has a plug. Plug that in securely. And I like to put the pedal down towards the front of my machine. And then we'll do our power cord. Plugs in on this other side, right there. And then you want to slide this over securely into place. And then plug it into your outlet. Here is our power switch to turn the machine on and off. But Gary, can you explain to me what these other connectors are on the machine?
The connector underneath the power cord is for use with future accessories. It provides power to those accessories. The second connector, if you decide at some point that you'd like to upgrade your machine to a stand-up machine, this is where the rear handlebars would plug in.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, we're ready now to thread our machine. You'll notice here that we have two different thread posts that are located directly below our thread mask. You can use two different colors of thread or two different kinds of thread at the same time on this machine. You just bring them up to the thread mask and then run them through this first thread guide and then thread the machine exactly how I'm going to show you now. So placing our thread right here, we go directly up to our thread mask through our first thread guide. Then we're going to I'm going to cut my thread right here. We're going to go through our 3-hole thread guide. Each time I thread through there, I go from the back to the front, spiral around, back to the front, and the last one back to the front. Okay, now we travel down through this next thread guide, If you just pull it in, it snaps in, and then we're going to go through our tension disc. You want to make sure that you get it inside that tension disc, and then you pull up on either side, make sure that that's flossed in there tightly. Then you're going to pick up the tension spring. See how that goes right through there and down to the stirrup. Thread through our take-up lever going from the back to the front. Down through this next thread guide. Then I'm going to stop at that point right now and point out that you're going to want to change your needle when it first arrives. You'll love this new screw right here that makes taking the needle in and out very easy. I'm going to thread it through the collar, and then I'm going to thread my needle going from the front of the needle to the back. I usually like to sit down right in front of this needle so I can get it in and see. For more information on the care of your machine, refer to the maintenance video.
I'd like to explain the features of the color touchscreen on the Sweet 16. In the upper left-hand corner of the screen is an indicator that tells you whether your pedal is plugged in properly. If you see in red letters, check pedal, make sure the connector is plugged in properly and completely. These buttons tell you where the needle will stop when you finish sewing. You can set it for needle up or needle down. In the upper right-hand corner is the machine speed percentage from 0 to 100%, with 100% being 1,500 stitches per minute. Now you can limit the maximum speed that the machine will go with the pedal fully depressed. Using the plus and minus buttons, I can set a specific speed that I want to make as my maximum speed. In addition to that, we have 3 buttons that provide preset levels for you to quickly change that limit, depending on what type of sewing you want to do. These 3 buttons can be set by you personally. They're customizable. Let's show you how that works. In the More screen, we have a button that says Presets. So 80% seems a little high for kind of sewing that I would do. So I'm going to reduce that down to 34%. When I pushed on the main button, I return to the main screen, and you can see this first preset is now changed to 34%. When I press it, my limit is set to 34%. The center button is the needle position button. I can use that to position the needle up and down, or to perform what's called a walking stitch by holding it. So if I hold it, the needle goes up and down continuously until I release. I press it once, needle will go down or up, so it goes half of a stitch. Now in the More screen, there are other buttons available. In the Options button, we can set the volume for the key clicks, and we can set the brightness of our LED ring. The center button is actually a slider, and as I move it left to right or right to left, the light will dim or get brighter. I can also just turn it off or turn it on directly. The same functions happen with the volume. I can mute, in which case when I try and do another button, there's no sound coming from the screen. Or I can turn it on fully or turn it down. Going to the Systems Information screen, you'll notice that we have stitch counters available. So we have a lifetime stitch counter that tells the number of stitches that this machine has performed in its lifetime. We also have what we call a trip counter, which you can use to count the number of stitches in a specific project. You can reset that stitch counter by pressing the reset button. Going back to the More screen, you notice we have a Diagnostics button. The Diagnostics button takes you to the Diagnostics screen. On this screen are various tests that can be performed on the machine to assure that it's functioning properly. Generally, you will only use this in conjunction with a call to our technical solutions people or with your local representative. The first button on the upper left is the motor test button. Pressing that button takes you to a screen which explains exactly how to run the test. For this particular test, we rotate the rear hand wheel and listen for beeps, which will tell us that the motor is functioning properly. The next button is the needle test. In the needle test, again, we rotate the hand wheel in the rear, and as we rotate through the up and down of the needle, we will have a beep on and off. The next button is the speed button. This tests the speed sensor within the machine. To perform this test, you will need to press the foot pedal and make sure that the machine goes through a full cycle. When you're finished depressing the pedal, you should see 100 as the value on the screen. The final button in diagnostics is the foot pedal test. The foot pedal test, you depress the pedal and the value on the screen will change from 0 to 100%. The final button on the More screen is a calculator. It's a 5-function calculator that includes the standard 4 functions plus a square root function for finding the diagonal of a piece of fabric. In the center of the display is a red rectangle. As you depress the foot pedal, that rectangle turns green to indicate that the machine is operating. We at Handy Quilter are proud that this Sweet 16 machine has received all of the safety and EMC certifications required to sell not just in the United States and Canada, but also in Europe and Australia. So you can take your machine anywhere in the world.
Now we're going to get to the fun part. I want to show you some different things that you can do with your Sweet 16. To begin with, when you're preparing your quilt, you need to make sure that you have it either pin basted or spray basted so that you have it, your sandwich, your backing, your batting, and your top all together and smoothed out so that as you work with it, you don't have any slippage or movement of your fabric. Let me show you a product that is great to use with your Sweet 16. They're called Machingers, and they're gloves that help keep your hands so that the fabric doesn't slip. They have little plastic rubber on the tips of the fingers, so as you use the machine, you have full control of your fabric. As quilters, sometimes we get a little bit nervous as to how to get our design on our fabric and what we're going to quilt. Let me show you some helps that will make it easier for you. I have here with me Golden Threads paper, and what that is a paper, lightweight and very thin, that you can use to trace your designs. I've taken here just a stencil, traced it on my paper, and then I've actually stitched through that paper, and you can see what that's done. It's made dots, and then I will use a pounce pad that you can see here on my fabric. I've laid this down, I've pounced through it, and I've transferred that onto my fabric. Now if you don't want to use the pounce pad, you can do the same thing, just trace it and then apply it to your fabric. I've used these sticky dots on the back here that then sticks that and keeps that from moving as I stitch through it. Either way, it's a win-win situation, so you can apply your design to your fabric and then use it. Another product that's available are stencils. They are used with the pounce pad. Now you want to pounce your chalk into the pad, and then as you use it, you just lightly brush across the stencil, and that chalk puts our design onto our fabric. Makes it so much easier if you're afraid